Well, a very good evening to you once again. Thanks for clicking on the special video. It's a second video of the night, so you're being treated. Not. Anyway, I actually thought I would cut a quick video, folks, to talk about the changes that we're seeing across parts of Europe. Of course, we're seeing more unsettled, stormier weather across the northern half of the UK in particular, and as well as that, a significant change really is the fact that we're going to see this turn to colder conditions by Friday and through potentially the weekend as well. It's going to be a sharp contrast, a shock to the system compared to what we've been so used to. Why are we seeing these changes? Well, the breakdown, the displacement of the high, although it's still prevalent across the majority of Europe, bringing settled conditions, cloudy, foggy, cool conditions in the east and central parts across Germany and Poland. We're continuing to see also the unsettled conditions further south across Iberia and the Mediterranean as well. We've seen, of course, more flash flooding across southern parts of Italy as opposed to the north of Italy, so pretty devastating conditions for parts of southern Europe. Why have we seen the pattern be so persistent? Well, that ridge has been so persistent across Europe. What it's been doing is it's been deflecting areas of low pressure to the north and west of the UK. So instead of crossing over the UK, they've been getting bent round because of the power of the block and the high. It's been stopping those lows from getting east and across the UK and Ireland. What it's been doing is it's been tracking more towards Iceland. What we have seen, however, is the frontal zones associated with these areas of low pressure drift and hit up against the ridge. That boundary between that ridge and the low pressure to the west has been right over Ireland and western parts of the UK. So why have we seen the drought conditions, drier conditions across the east? Well, those fronts have been weakening as they've crossed over the UK. So wetter conditions for the western part of the UK as well as across Ireland. And as well as that, because of the airflow coming out of the south, it's been hurling up moisture-rich air from the subtropics, and therefore that's the reason why we've seen some tremendous flash flooding even across parts of the UK, or certainly flooding anyway, because the boundaries have been stuck in place. Southerly flow, warmer, much more moisture that can be contained within that airflow. Now what we're seeing now is those areas of low pressure get more towards the northeast rather than the north, and that means to say we're seeing the passage of these fronts. But as well as that, as these areas of low pressure track towards the east and northeast, like for example tomorrow night into Friday, we'll see this area of low pressure, the strong low, approach Norway, and as it does so, it's going to bend these winds that are out of the southwest tonight and tomorrow, going to be more northwesterly, pulling in colder maritime air from such areas as the North Atlantic and Greenland as well. So it's going to feel colder and it's going to feel worse because we're not being used to it. Now what I will say is this much: do not be bogged down or falsely led into believing that this is the cold weather hitting. I don't believe it will be the case. The reason being is we've got a positive North Atlantic oscillation, and that means that we're going to see more unsettled conditions. And over the next 24 to 48 hours, I believe this will be a sign of what we're going to see and what we're going to be led into the first, 2 weeks of the month of December. So it's going to become more stormier, I believe. Wet, windy, storms going to pass through, and on the backside of those lows is what was going to see this colder weather. That is what's going to bring us chillier, more normal conditions for this time of year. But as for the actual lockdown pattern, the cold Arctic high pressure following behind a series of snowstorms, that will not occur until later on into December, around the 15th, as I keep saying. The reason being is that the Arctic oscillation, to the best of my knowledge, appears to be positive. That means to say we're going to see a more blocking and building of that Arctic reservoir over the pole. North America is going to turn quite warm for the latter part of November and into December. Canada looks quite mild actually, and I believe that the majority of the cold over the hemisphere will be centered more over Siberia and places like that. But we are going to get little teasers of cooler conditions, hill snow examples like that. But as for the actual cold itself, lockdown, 3 to 4 week pattern, very cold conditions, that will not occur until we see that flip to a negative North Atlantic oscillation. The blocking over Greenland in the North Atlantic will therefore allow the cold to then drift into the UK and the western part of the continent. So the North Atlantic oscillation turning negative, as well as the Arctic oscillation, will bring us the cold weather. But as for the next few weeks, though we will see periods of chilly conditions, then milder, stormier conditions, we're not going to see that cold arrive until the next, for another good few weeks yet. So continue to keep checking back, and I'll keep you up to date. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.